Action.
Hi. Some people have requested, I actually sent out a question asking who wanted video of what. So instead of some exercises this time, the common questions were about diet and
competition diet.
And why do we do what we do, and how do we do it, and why does it work, and why does it not work? And so we wanted to answer those questions for you. So yeah, she's going to answer all the questions for you. So I don't know, she talks and talks and talks, but when the camera starts up, she just clams right up. So anyway, you've got the questions. So
okay, well, just I guess the first overarching question is, what are you doing for your competition diet? Because not everybody is the same.
That's true. And every year it's a little different for me than it is from year to year, because the more you do this, the more often you compete and you diet down and get really low body fat percentages, the easier it gets, because your body remembers what it was doing. The very first time is generally the hardest, because you've got to trick your body into doing what you need it to do. So this year I've been afforded some nice things to haven't been so restricted as I was in the past. But really for the most part it's running a very low carb during the week basically. And then on rest days I've experimented with doing some fat loading, which is just eating extra calories at anywhere from 12 to 1,500 calories of healthy fats from like nuts, peanut butter, salmon, oils, those types of things. So it's not bacon and cheeseburgers and things like that. So you got to make sure you're eating the right things. And that worked out really well, but I've always wanted to try to do carb cycling and do a carb load on a rest day. Now the reason behind that is that when you're resting, you're not burning up that food that you ate. When you're in a strict dieting mode, your body isn't in a pack the extra calories on as fat mode. It's in a burn mode. So what happens is when you do that around a rest day, so you're doing it on a rest day, you're actually filling up your muscle with the extra calories, those good calories, either they're coming from complex carbs or healthy fats. So
peanut butter,
yeah, that's the big one. But the idea is that you're restricted on your calories throughout the week, so when you throw those extra calories into your body, your body's first reaction is to say, oh my gosh, this is more calories than I'm used to. I need to speed up the metabolism. So the best way I describe it for people, it's like riding a bike. If you're riding on a level plane, and then you get up on the wheel and you just start pedaling really fast for 30 seconds, then you can coast for a lot longer. And then you pedal again real fast. That's kind of what happens when, once a week, you shock your body with an extra calorie load. But it's important that you don't do everything on those days. Like when I'm doing a carb day, I'm really limited on my fats. You don't want to do both, because then your body's going to get confused, and you could, instead of getting the goal of increased metabolism, you could do it the other way around. So like today, she's been on a fat load, and I've been on a carb load. So I haven't had the joy of the peanut butter, but I've had the joy of eating brown rice all day long. So even when I say carb loading, it's not like I'm having donuts or anything like that. It's it's a treat of having a cup of rice for every meal versus nothing. So that's the idea behind doing what I'm doing, is you keep the muscle filled up, you keep the metabolism up, and it's something different for your body to speed up your metabolism to burn more fat. Yes. So.
Okay, so when you talked about fat loading and talked about carb loading, well, I shouldn't really extensively talk about fat loading, but did you say that it pretty much does the same thing? But why would you fat load versus carb load?
Good question. It depends.
Carb load, right?
It depends on your body. People can either deal really well with burning fat for energy or carbs for energy. Now, I never used to be the kind of person that could burn carbs for energy, so this is actually a new experience for me. Whereas a lot of fellow competitors in the past do this, I couldn't. I couldn't. It would turn into fat for me.
And part of the reason for that is his body was just already in the mode of when carbs would. I mean, he just lived so long with that lifestyle any carbs he took in, his body just was already in the mode and habit of converting it to stored energy, just converting it. It just didn't utilize it like it should have been. So he had to break that cycle before he could get to this point 4 years later.
Yeah. So you just got to know your own body and whether or not you can have enough energy and still lean out while keeping healthy fats in there versus complex carbs. Most people tend to lean towards the complex carb side, to where as long as they're not eating simple refined sugars and they're eating the complex carbs, they do well, they do better. In the past, I've always been a fat person, and she's been doing better with, on her rest days as far as fat loading. So, so we'll continue to do that for her. And
it
who knows?
helps. And it helps if you've been on a consistent, healthy diet. It doesn't even have to be a competition diet. But if you're on a consistent, healthy diet for a period of 3 weeks, because you don't want to just decide to fat load one day and then 6 days later carb load another day. I mean, you don't want to do it too fast, too soon. You want to give your body time to even out and then do it and see how you respond. Give it time, see how your body responds to it, what happens. And it might not be that one time it does well. I mean, I probably said that wrong. But you don't want to experiment with things too quickly, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, be consistent with whatever it is you're doing.
Yeah.
And it takes a while. I mean, when we're talking for the first 6 weeks, 6 to 8 weeks of this diet, we didn't vary from the diet at all, because that's just the way it goes. You've got to get your body into a groove before you start throwing things into it. So that's it for this round of questions. We've got a whole bunch of other questions we want to cover, but otherwise we'll make these videos 15, 20 minutes long and nobody wants to sit around and watch that. But I do want to cover on the next video, I want to cover sugars and what happens basically, because I think that's another thing, because the one thing that I see on these diaries all the time still, it just drives me nuts, is that good job you're under the calories. And then I look at the diet and it was just crap. Processed foods, refined sugars.
Fat freeze.
I mean, the best way I can explain it is, if your diet just consisted of Twinkies all day, but you came under the calorie count by 200 calories, is that yay good job, or is that, oh my God, what did you do? So that's the best way I can explain it, because I'd rather see somebody over by 1,000 calories, but I looked on there and there was good food, there was good whole foods, and I knew that they were feeding their body what it needed to do in order to perform the way it should perform. So we'll cover that on the next video. So that's it for tonight, for now. Part 1 of
maybe more, I don't know.
3. We'll say 3. I think we can get this done in 3 parts.
Bye.
Bye.